the blockade that built a continent. There are moments in history when pressure does not break a nation. It reshapes it. The West believed sanctions would isolate Russia. Instead, they may have accelerated the largest geopolitical realignment since the Cold War. What began as an attempt to weaken Moscow has slowly evolved into something far larger, a continental trading system stretching from China, through Central Asia, across Russia, and toward the Middle East. Not built through ideology, built through necessity. When Europe closed markets, Russia turned east. Energy pipelines expanded, rail freight surged, ports in the Arctic and the Caspian grew in strategic importance. And suddenly, routes once considered secondary became the backbone of a new economic geography. China saw opportunity, Iran saw survival, India saw leverage, and the countries in between began adapting to a world no longer dominated by a single financial center. The irony is difficult to ignore. The blockade designed to constrain Russia may have strengthened the very networks the West feared most. Trade began flowing around sanctions instead of through them. Currencies outside the US dollar gained greater use. Supply chains rerouted, insurance systems adjusted, shipping corridors evolved, and beneath it all, a new reality slowly emerged: a Eurasian system less dependent on Western approval. History has seen this before. Empires often believe control comes from restriction. But restriction can force innovation. It can create new alliances, new infrastructure, new habits of cooperation. The old Silk Roads were not built because the world was united. They were built because civilizations needed alternatives. Today's version may look different. Containers instead of caravans, fiber optics instead of parchment, energy corridors instead of spice routes. But the principle remains the same. When one gate closes, trade finds another path. None of this means the West is collapsing. Far from it. The United States still dominates finance, technology, and military power. Europe remains wealthy and influential. But something important has changed. The assumption that global trade must flow through Western-controlled systems is now being tested in real time. And once nations adapt to alternatives, it becomes very difficult to force them back. That is the deeper story behind the blockade. Not simply sanctions, not simply war, but the unintended construction of a continental framework that may outlast the conflict itself. A system born from pressure, forged through isolation, and strengthened by the belief that survival requires independence. Sometimes history moves through conquest, sometimes through diplomacy, and sometimes through the closing of a door. Because the blockade that was meant to divide Eurasia may ultimately help connect it. Statura, where geopolitics meets consequence. To understand more, read statura.substack.com. That's statura.substack.com.